The Prime Minister's office has confirmed Queensland will not be included in the state's national emergency declaration with New South Wales, following days of deliberation on the flood crisis. The decision comes after Prime Minister Scott Morrison paid a visit to flood-affected communities in southeast Queensland this week. The National Emergency Declaration will be finalised through the Governor-Generals in Canberra tonight and will allow swifter supply of support and relief funds to flood-ravaged areas such as Lismore in northern NSW. NT Police Officer Zachary Rolfe found not guilty of over-18. Prime Minister Scott Morrison visits a flood-affected street in Milton. Queensland Premier Annastacia Palaszczuk previously called for the declaration a week sooner, adding the state's floodwaters had now receded. "I did raise it yesterday," he said. "It was just for the northern NSW areas," she said today. "It would be nice if there was equality." The severe flooding that hit northern NSW was the worst ever recorded. Flooding in Goodna in southeast Queensland. She said while both states had experienced severe levels of devastation, the decision was ultimately up to the Prime Minister. "Look, that's a matter for him," the Premier said. "My members on the ground have said to me, how can this be different? People have lost their whole life's possessions. But it's tough out there for people, and whether you live in Queensland or NSW, natural disasters impact on people the same way. Community in shock over horror domestic violence attack that 2 people. Cars underwater in wild Sydney storms." Mr. Morrison said Ms. Palaszczuk had not contacted him about declaring Queensland a national emergency when the flood crisis first hit. "The Queensland Premier had every opportunity to write to me a week ago and ask me to do so, and she didn't choose to do that," he said. Interstate trade is called to assist with flood recovery. Queensland's focus now lies on rebuilding efforts, as the Premier launched a campaign to lure traders to flood-devastated regions. Incentives will be on offer for those who offer their services. "We want you to run to paradise," Ms. Palaszczuk said today. "Whether it's helping out with initial accommodation, airfares, travel, we'll look at all those incentives." ADF personnel clean up flood damage in Milton. The Premier added the campaign would not target NSW, still facing its own flooding crisis. Plans for further flood mitigation projects are also in the works. In Ipswich, west of Brisbane, some residents are dealing with their 3rd major flood cleanup in 11 years. Flood-damaged items and debris are left outside a house in Brisbane. Local business owners have called attention to a railway underpass on Marston Parade they believe funnels water into the CBD. "We've been here 22 years, it's probably done it 16 or 20 times, and every time you just panic, 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 you can't do nothing about it," Noel Roberts from Ace Computer World said. He said his business is still in ruins from last week's flooding event. It's all gone," he said.